This rash isn't from a fall. What did you put on it?
It was herbal, meant to help.
You should have taken her to a doctor days ago.
In the fading light of a late summer afternoon, the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, Ohio, hummed with the ordinary rhythms of small-town life. Porch swings creaked, sprinklers hissed, and cicadas buzzed in the humid air. But in the backyard of a modest, single-story house on Sycamore Lane, something was terribly wrong. 7-year-old Emily Harper clutched an old flip phone, her small fingers trembling as she dialed 911. Her voice, barely above a whisper, carried a chilling weight. "He said it wouldn't hurt," she told the operator, her words laced with fear and confusion. What unfolded next would unravel a story of desperation, resilience, and a community forced to confront its own failure, tale that would spark heated debates about neglect, survival, and the thin line between love and harm. Officer Michael Reynolds pulled into the gravel driveway of the Harper residence 15 minutes later. The house, with its peeling paint and overgrown lawn, stood in stark contrast to the neatly manicured homes nearby. Emily sat on the back steps, her knees drawn up, staring at a faint red mark on her faded blue sundress. Michael, a 15-year veteran of the Willow Creek Police Department, had seen his share of troubling calls, but something about Emily's wide, solemn eyes sent a shiver down his spine. "Hey, kiddo," he said, kneeling to her level. "I'm Officer Mike." "You, Emily?" She nodded, her gaze fixed on the ground. "What happened today, Emily?" he asked gently. Before she could answer, the screen door squeaked open, and James Harper, Emily's father, stepped out. His face was pale, his movements stiff from a visible limp. "Officer, is something wrong?" James asked, his voice tight with worry. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his flannel shirt hung loosely on his thin frame. Michael studied him carefully. "Just following up on a call, Mr. Harper. Are you Emily's dad?" "Yes, I'm James," he replied, glancing at his daughter with confusion. "Emily, did something happen at school?" Emily flinched slightly, her small hands twisting the hem of her dress. "She called us herself," Michael said, watching James's reaction. The man's eyes widened in shock. "She what?" "Emily, why would you do that?" Emily's voice was barely audible. "I fell by the shed. It hurt." James exhaled, visibly relieved. "She tripped on some old bricks out back. I cleaned it up, put a bandage on it." He pointed to an uneven path leading to a small storage shed. "I've been meaning to fix that." Michael nodded, but a nagging unease lingered. "Mind if I step inside for a moment, Mr. Harper?" The house was tidy but worn, faded curtains, a sagging couch, and a stack of unpaid bills on the kitchen counter. From a back room, a faint cough echoed. "My aunt lives with us," James explained. "She's been sick for a while." Emily slipped her hand into her father's, and despite his obvious pain, James's expression softened. "It's just us three now," he said quietly. As Michael prepared to leave, Emily approached him at the door. "He said it wouldn't hurt," she whispered again, her eyes darting to her father, who was distracted by a phone call. Michael's gut twisted. Something wasn't right. He vowed to return the next day. That evening, Michael couldn't shake Emily's words. At his mother's cozy ranch-style home on Cedar Avenue, he sat at the dinner table, picking at a plate of meatloaf. Ellen Reynolds, a retired social worker in her late 60s, noticed his distraction. "You've got that look, Michael," she said, her sharp eyes narrowing. "What's on your mind?" Michael hesitated. Years on the force had taught him to keep work at work, but he recounted the call, describing Emily's quiet fear and James's strained demeanor. Ellen frowned. "Kids don't say things like that without reason. They protect the ones they love, even when it hurts them." Later, Michael dug into the Harper family's history. James had worked at the local steel mill until a workplace accident 3 years ago left him with a shattered leg and no job. His wife, Emily's mother, had vanished shortly after, leaving James to care for Emily and his elderly aunt, Clara. Medical records showed James filling painkiller prescriptions at multiple pharmacies, likely to manage his chronic pain without insurance. The next morning, Michael called Willow Creek Elementary. The secretary confirmed Emily had missed several days of school, with James citing minor illnesses. A follow-up call to social services connected Michael with Lisa Carter, a caseworker who noted a prior report about Emily, but no actionable evidence. "We're stretched thin," Lisa admitted. "But I'll make a home visit soon." At the school, Emily's teacher, Mrs. Helen Foster, shared her concerns. "Emily's so quiet," she said, pulling out a folder of the girl's artwork. One drawing depicted a kitchen counter cluttered with bottles labeled Daddy's Medicine. Another showed a small figure clearly Emily watching a man mix something in a bowl. "She said her dad makes it himself," Mrs. Foster added, worry creasing her brow. Michael's unease deepened. A father in pain, a child carrying too much weight, and a system too overwhelmed to notice this was a recipe for disaster. The next day, Mrs. Foster noticed Emily wince as she reached for a crayon, quickly tugging her sleeve down to hide her arm. During art class, Emily drew another picture of Daddy's Medicine, this time with a small figure crying beside it. When pressed, Emily whispered, "It's for his leg. The doctor's stuff costs too much." At recess, she stayed behind, helping Mrs. Foster stack books. "Is everything okay at home, Emily?" the teacher asked gently. Emily hesitated. "Daddy tries so hard. He doesn't sleep because his leg hurts. Sometimes he cries at night." Her voice dropped. "I hear him through the wall." Mrs. Foster called Michael immediately, sharing her observations. Later, she watched James arrive to pick Emily up, his limp more pronounced as he leaned on his daughter for support. Emily's face lit up at the sight of him, but Mrs. Foster couldn't shake the image of the girl's tired eyes or the weight she seemed to carry. Lisa Carter visited the Harper home that afternoon. James greeted her warily, but let her in. The living room was sparse but clean, with a faded quilt over the couch and old family photos on the mantel. Clara's weak voice called from the back room, and James excused himself to tend to her. Emily appeared, watching Lisa with cautious eyes. "We're okay," she said softly. "Daddy takes care of us." Lisa noted the minimal food supplies, the pile of past due notices, and James's over-the-counter painkiller bottles. "Are you getting help for your medical needs, Mr. Harper?" she asked. James's face flushed. "We manage," he said curtly. In Emily's room, Lisa found no obvious signs of neglect, just books, a few toys, and a drawing of 3 stick figures labeled Daddy, Me, Aunt Clara. Lisa left with no clear evidence of harm, but promised Michael she'd follow up. Emily woke before dawn, her internal clock set by necessity. At 7, she didn't need an alarm. Responsibility was her wake-up call. In the dim kitchen, she prepared oatmeal, the cheapest meal to stretch their budget, and sorted Clara's medications with practiced care. By 6, she'd helped her aunt take her pills and changed her bedding. Clara patted her hand weakly. "You're just like your mama," she murmured. Emily didn't respond. Her mother's absence was a wound she didn't touch. At 6:30, Emily checked on her father. James lay asleep, exhausted after another sleepless night of pain. An empty mug of herbal tea sat on his nightstand. Emily had made it at midnight when his groans woke her. She closed his door quietly, deciding school could wait another day. She spent the morning cleaning, reading to Clara, and doing homework under the old maple tree in the backyard. A wounded sparrow caught her eye, its wing dragging as it hopped along the fence. Emily watched it, understanding its quiet fight. That afternoon, they visited the Willow Creek Community Center for free meals. James had resisted at first, his pride stung, but hunger won out. Emily noticed a kind woman serving soup. Ellen Reynolds, Michael's mother. "Want some cornbread, sweetie?" Ellen asked. Emily nodded. "And an extra piece for Daddy. His medicine makes him hungry." Ellen's eyes softened. "You're Emily Harper, aren't you?" "I'm Ellen, Officer Mike's mom." Emily tensed, but Ellen's warmth eased her guard. In the center's garden, Emily found a drooping plant in a cracked pot and watered it carefully, whispering, "You'll be okay." That night, James tried a new herbal mixture from a neighbor, hoping it would ease his pain. Emily watched, her math homework forgotten. "You should be playing, not worrying about me," James said, his voice heavy with guilt. Emily's eyes were serious. "You're not old, Daddy. We need you." At the pharmacy, James faced another rejection. "Your insurance lapsed, Mr. Harper," the clerk said. "It's $300 without coverage." Defeated, James leaned against the building outside, pain shooting through his leg. In the car, Emily noticed his empty hands, but said nothing. That night, he pored over their budget, the numbers unforgiving. A neighbor, Mr. Thompson, dropped by with a jar of homemade salve. "It helped my back pain," he said. "All natural, no pharmacy costs." James accepted it gratefully, mixing the salve with herbs he'd bought cheaply. The earthy scent filled the kitchen as he applied it, imagining relief. 3 days later, Emily scratched a red patch on her arm. "Just a bug bite," she told Clara, hiding it under her sleeve. But when James noticed her wincing, he saw the angry, inflamed rash. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, guilt-stricken. Recognizing it as similar to a poison ivy reaction he'd had, he applied a paste from his herbal mix. "It might sting a bit," he warned, "but it'll help." Emily bit her lip as it burned. "It hurts, Daddy." "Just for a minute," he promised. "It shouldn't hurt long." By morning, the rash had worsened, blistering and spreading. Emily hid it under long sleeves, but at school, Mrs. Foster noticed her discomfort. The school nurse examined the rash and called James. "This isn't poison ivy," she said firmly. "It needs a doctor." James arrived, horrified by Emily's arm. "The paste was supposed to help," he whispered. Michael, arriving for a meeting with Mrs. Foster, saw their distress. "Might want a doctor to check that," he suggested. James bristled. "We're fine," he said, hurrying Emily to the car. That night, Emily's arm throbbed, and a fever set in. She curled up in bed, silent tears falling as she clutched her stuffed bear. In the kitchen, James stared at the herbal mixture, dread rising. Had he caused this? Across town, Ellen prepared for a community health fair. James arrived, looking defeated. "Emily's got a rash," he admitted. "I tried treating it myself." Ellen's concern grew as he described the herbs. "Some natural remedies can harm kids' sensitive skin," she said gently. "Has she seen a doctor?" James shook his head. "No insurance." Ellen handed him brochures for low-cost clinics, connecting him with a health navigator. At the school, Mrs. Foster told Michael about Emily's rash, mentioning James's homemade remedies. Michael called Lisa, urging an immediate check. At the community center, Emily tended to her rescued plant, whispering, "You're stronger than you look." A neighbor called James home. Clara was asking for him, and Emily had a fever. Michael and Ellen arrived at the Harper house as James helped Emily from the car, her face flushed. Ellen examined her arm. "She needs a hospital now," she said firmly. James didn't resist, his resolve crumbling. At Willow Creek General, nurses rushed Emily to the ER. Her fever was 102.5, and the rash had spread. Dr. Laura Bennett examined her arm. "When did this start, Emily?" she asked. "A few days ago," Emily whispered. James confessed to using a homemade remedy, listing herbs like comfrey and eucalyptus. Dr. Bennett's frown deepened. "These can cause severe allergic reactions in children," she said. "This is a serious infection." Michael watched, seeing not malice but desperation in James's actions. Emily reached for her father's hand. "He just wanted to help," she said softly. "He said it wouldn't hurt, but he cried when it did." Dr. Bennett prescribed 4 antibiotics and admitted Emily overnight. Ellen urged James to be honest about his situation. "I just wanted to be a good dad," he whispered, tears falling. The next morning, Emily's fever broke, and her rash began to fade. Lisa arrived with a CPS representative, Karen Fields, who suggested temporary placement for Emily. Michael and Ellen protested, arguing separation would harm more than help. Emily stayed with Ellen temporarily. Her room brightened with books and a quilt. She placed her rescued plant on the windowsill, its new leaf a symbol of hope. James began treatment at a pain clinic, while Clara moved to a subsidized care home. A community effort, dubbed Harper Home Fix, saw neighbors repair the house new wiring, fixed leaks, and a restored porch swing James had built years ago. Emily's plant found a permanent home in the garden, thriving in fresh soil. 6 months later, the Harper house stood strong. James managed his pain with proper medication, and Emily excelled at school. At a community center event, James spoke about their journey, inspiring a new support program. Emily gifted Michael, Ellen, Mrs. Foster, and Lisa a drawing of their expanded family. Later, on the porch swing, she handed James a note. "We help each other now, and it doesn't hurt anymore." As they rocked in the twilight, planning their garden, James felt a quiet certainty that they'd reclaimed their future. The Harper story rippled through Willow Creek, proving one small cry for help could change a community. It raises tough questions about neglect, desperation, and the systems that fail families. Was James a loving father or a reckless one? Should CPS have acted more decisively, or was keeping the family together the right call? Share your thoughts in the comments. Where do you stand on the line between harm and hope in stories like this? Let's start a conversation about justice, compassion, and the struggles too many face in silence.